Welcome on in, members of the chapter, as well as Adeptus Custodes aficionados. This is Sprues and Studs, and today we are going to be taking a look at a very lone release of an Adeptus Custodes action figure that was just recently released. And which one is that? Well, judging by the title of this review, you already know what we're going to be taking a look at, and that is the Blade Champion. And we will see what is going on with this action figure. So there's nothing to do except dive on into the review. So nice to see a golden boy. Let's go. And what do we have here? All right, Adeptus Custodes fanatics. We have the Blade Champion in front of us, and there's nothing to do except go right down to the review. Now, as usual, we are going to be taking an exhaustive look from top down, starting off with this beautiful mane over here. So this mane is actually a little bit different from what we've seen from JoyToy in the past. In the past is kind of like a top knot kind of thing, but this is like what? Sort of a mane. So you get to see some shading in the recesses of the mane. However, there is really no highlighting whatsoever that's happening with it. And then as we move on down, get to see a lustrous golden helmet, and there is a blue gem in the middle, metallic red lenses, which again, I love. And then it progresses down to a silver area and then some silver hoses. So there's a nice color contrast between the gold and the silver right here, as well as the red. And next we will move on to the right pauldron. And the right pauldron is actually what we've seen before in most Adeptus Custodes figures. So you've got the characteristic double aquila with the double eagle head, and then the eagle's feathers on the body, and then these grand wings. So if you notice, there is a bunch of highlighting that's happening on the tips of the wings, which is nice. However, on this particular action figure, you will unfortunately notice that the shading is a little bit devoid, which I wish they would have put. And as we move on to the other side, you get more of the same. There is, once again, a double aquila, except the wings of this eagle are actually arced up a little bit more. There are 3 little blue gems that are there to break up the monotony of the gold, and there are some very light highlights here. So in the middle of this action figure, you get to see another blue gem with these arrows that are protruding out of this gem. And as we progress on to the arms of this action figure, you will see that this Blade Champion is rocking sort of like leather gloves. And the nice thing about these gloves is that it's got these silver clasps. Then another double aquila over here. You'll also notice that there is some black cloth here. The black cloth is represented very well because it's got these lifelike folds, and it is highlighted just a little bit with some white. And the same goes with the other side as well. So let's move on down to the middle section of this action figure, and we get to see this very ornate belt. And the gigantic belt buckle actually does reflect what is on the left pauldron, as you can see right here. Compared to here, it is the same double aquila eagle with the raised wings. And on the side of the action figure, you get more of the same motif here. You flip over to the other side, it's pretty much the same thing, except that there is sort of like an amulet that is dangling down over here. As we move on down, there is a very Ultramarines-esque kind of gladiator tassel down here. So these are 3 leather strips that are hanging down, and then you have golden buckles with blue gems that are accompanying these buckles. And you will notice that this Blade Champion also has sort of like a red, I don't know what you want to call it, but skirt type of thing. And on the skirt, there is some shading as evidenced right here. And finally, as we move on down to the bottom of this action figure, you get to see cloth type fabric here that's mimicking the tops of the forearms. And this fabric does have some light highlighting that's happening. You can also see the folds, which is very nice. And moving down to the southernmost area of this action figure, you get to see these tops leather boots. And these things actually do mimic the forearms quite well. You get to see some shading that's happening on the deepest recesses here. There is actually some light highlighting up top here. And then silver buckles for these straps. So we're going to turn this action figure around and take a look at his back. The first thing I'm going to point out to you is that On the back of this action figure, you can see a double aquilid eagle that's actually sitting on this action figure's back of the neck. Now moving on down, you have a royal red regal cape, and the cape does have some shading that's happening here in the deeper recesses. Right in the middle of it, once again, you get that same motif of a double aquilid golden eagle. So we're going to flip this up and take a look at the scabbard in the back. And the scabbard in the back does have a very nice continuity with the rest of this action figure. These straps are also leather and brown, and there is gold accents all over the place on this scabbard. So I just realized that this scabbard is actually not functional, in that you cannot place one of the Volt Swords in. There is a very shallow indentation here, so this is just a decorative scabbard. So if you actually do try, it just stops right here, so it doesn't work. All right, that is the body of the action figure. We're going to be taking a look at the Volt Swords. And these swords are actually very interesting in that the color patterning is pretty awesome in my opinion. So with the larger Volt Sword, you get to see that same old Power Sword patterning that has that dark gunmetal color over here. And the sword has been highlighted a light silver, but it looks like they sprayed this translucent blue color all over the place, with the strongest blue color concentrating on the tip of this sword. And this is probably, aside from the Nemesis Dread Knight, the strongest blue hued sword that I've seen JoyToy make. So on the hilt of the sword, you get to see, once again, double aquila, and then there is a nice gold symbol on the pommel of this sword. So we're going to take a quick look at the smaller Vault Sword, and pretty much what you see is the same as the larger Vault Sword. There's really no difference from the smaller Vault Sword compared to the larger Vault Sword, except that, well, this is smaller. So the last thing that we're going to be taking a look at is the bare head of this Blade Champion. You can see that this guy has dark, lustrous brown hair, and unfortunately there might be some painting issues up here, probably a manufacturing defect that I hope that is not on your Blade Champion if you do choose to buy this action figure. There are no highlights whatsoever. On the face area itself, there is some light shading in the deeper recesses of this action figure's face. When you are looking at this action figure's eyes, I am a little creeped out in that it's not screened very well. It kind of looks like this eye is going up and this guy's going out. And there's a very dark look on the action figure's eyes. Kind of looks like one of those horror movies where you see the character's eyes fill up with black as they're being possessed. So this is kind of what it looks like. But aside from that, he has a very pronounced nose as well as a very nicely molded, I suppose, screaming face. All right, folks, that is the extensive review of this Blade Champion. And now it's time to wrap this one up. All right, members of the chapter, what did you think of this action figure over here? Please let me know your deepest thoughts in the comments section below, and I will give you my 2 cents on what I think about this action figure. So in true Adeptus Custodes form, I really like how the gold really stands out. It is very shiny, it's very lustrous, and it is very regal. And I also like how the armor has a lot of those silver accents that jump out. However, one thing that is lacking on this action figure is just the shading in the golden areas of the armor. I believe that it would have benefited this action figure very much if it actually had it. That being said, I really like the Volt Blades, as you can see here. The Volt Blades are very interesting looking to me because it has such a very saturated blue color that is unlike any other kind of power swords that we have seen in the past. Another thing I do really like is that mane that's on top of the Blade Champion's helmet. It is very unique and actually does stand out compared to the rest of the kind of like top-notch stuff that the other Adeptus Custodes has. So once again, we come down to the area in this review in which we ask whether this action figure is worth it or not. Well, I'll give you my opinion, and I will say that it is definitely worth it. There is many things to like about this action figure, as I have stated to you before, and I really love dual-wielding action figures. I think dual wielders are really badass, and they really do stand out on the battlefield just because of their technical and martial prowess. So this is Sprues and Studs. Thank you so much for tuning into this action figure review video. Once again, members of the chapter, thank you for your continued viewership and support. Without you all, I definitely would not be here. And I definitely do enjoy interacting with you all in the comment section. So again, please leave a comment in the comment section. And if you are interested in purchasing this action figure, please click on the link in the description below. And do not forget to use the code SNS to receive 12% off of your action figure purchases. And with that being said, I will see you all in the next one.